I just got off the phone with the CEO of Cajutel. I'm really excited for this one. Let's get into it. This is not your usual sponsored video, so I understand that it's going to be a little bit longer. Some of you guys may not want to watch it, and if you are one of those people, I'd advise you to skip towards the end. And towards the end, basically, I talked with the CEO, Andreas, yesterday, and I filmed parts of it from my phone because I wasn't even prepared for it. I was like, oh, wait, sorry. Here we go, because there's a lot of good information here. I thought we were just going to chat, but then I was like, you know what? You guys deserve to hear a little bit of our conversation as well. And during the conversation, at first I received an email from some company that was just like, oh, okay, I get a lot of emails in my inbox from ICOs and people who want to advertise through my cryptocurrency channel. And so some of them, I glanced at this email and I was like, I don't know too much about this, because it was just the email, it was just a wording. But then I decided, all right, let's go ahead, let's see what happens. We were able to chat last night, and I feel 100% more confident that this is an actual project I do want to support. So much so that I'm actually interested in a long-term relationship, and I did get paid in Bitcoin, but also in the company's tokens, and I want to hold on to the company's tokens. Usually I would not be doing that, but usually I also don't do sponsored videos. However, with this, I feel, quality is more important than quantity, and you need to advertise some projects out there because marketing is important. You know me, I'm a marketer. I want to help spread the word for companies out there that are actually trying to change the world. And I know that sounds a little bit delusional and revolutionary. Too much is going on, but this... Hold on a second here. This is actually a little bit further than blockchain. So thanks to blockchain technology, this company here will be able to help out a large amount of people in the small country of Guinea-Bissau. Now, some of you guys are going to hear that and you're like, wait, is that little one in Africa? You're talking about an African scheme? I know what you're thinking. Not everything down there is bad. There's emerging markets in Africa, in Southeast Asia, even in Europe, where you guys know I moved to Poland. And with cryptocurrency, thanks to it, there's a lot of new opportunities out there. I also wanted to throw in that we are turning off mid-roll ads for this video because I do want you guys to listen to the whole thing or soak up as much info as you can. We're on Cajutel's official website, and then from there you're able to check out the white papers, which are here. They go into quite a lengthy details of exactly what's going on. But probably the coolest website is this one, cajutel.gw/investor, where you're able to click, you're able to look at the CVs, the resumes. By the way, you should definitely check out the LinkedIn profiles of all of these guys working on the team. But something interesting that a lot of ICOs I've never actually seen. Well, so I have seen this before. But there are plenty of ICOs that don't even care about showing the white papers. They don't care about their social media presence, their SEO. I mean, you have plenty of examples, even on my channel alone, of stuff we laugh at. But here I decided, okay, let's download the financial calculations. And you're able to open it up, and here's what you're going to get. Okay, I get it. So some of you guys may not care about this, but for those investors who are looking to go a little bit long term and you like to do your research and keep everything organized, you're able to go through all the details and, for example, the numbers here, the costs, how much employees are getting paid, what exactly it's going to take to have these sites up, and any taxes, fees, the total allocated bandwidth. You're able to look through all of this, the per site cost, the hardware, whatever it is that you're curious about. And for example, if there's something in here that you still don't see and you have a question, so you're able to go through all of this information, and there's plenty of it. And if you still have questions, you're able to go to the website, go to Facebook, contact through email, go to the Slack or Telegram groups, ask on Bitcoin Talk, and you'll get a response. Also, Cajutel will be looking at the comments of this video, so if you guys are curious, definitely let us know. So here's why I'm kind of happy to see finally a company that's doing something more than just the money. Yes, money's great, and it's fun to be greedy in cryptocurrencies. However, you have to look at money as a tool for creating a lot of good. It has a lot of power, especially in the areas of the world that need it most. For example, in Guinea right now, there is internet, and in Africa, it's not like they're completely living in villages and stuff, but the internet there is unusable. People down there cannot watch my YouTube videos. They have trouble even sending emails because they don't have 4G. Think about that for a second. You guys are probably watching this from your home Wi-Fi that's super fast, or you're using 4G LTE. They have never seen that before in their entire life. A lot of people down there in Africa are excited for internet. Forget about cryptocurrencies and blockchain, but just internet. Going on Facebook, going on Google, going on YouTube. So what Cajutel wants to do is, first of all, the CEO has over 20 years of experience in going in different areas of the world and helping out expanding internet and GSM networks. Andreas is from Switzerland. However, if you go through his LinkedIn profile, which, yes, he has a LinkedIn profile. Some of the other members on board have LinkedIn profiles. Yeah, some ICOs. It's funny, but they have like no white papers. It's all plagiarized. They don't have LinkedIn profiles. If you send them a message, they're not going to respond to you. They just want the money. They don't have Bitcoin Talk accounts. With this, if you want information, it's all out there. For people who don't want to support this project, that's fine. For the ones who actually think that this might do a lot of good for the world, fantastic. This isn't a project that will make you a ginormous amount of money. If you want something that's going to give you like 10,000% returns, you can look at some of my other videos on this channel, and if you have the mentality of, oh, okay, I'm going to put in like $300, and pretty much, there's a high chance that it's kind of like playing the lottery. I'm most likely going to lose it after a certain amount of time, because if I keep reinvesting into schemes, eventually these schemes will fall. Hey, 10,000%, I want Lamborghinis, I'm seeing diamonds everywhere. So you can go that route, or you can think about, maybe over a long period of time, I'm able to double my investment, or maybe triple or quadruple. That still is a lot of money. That still is a lot of money, depending on how much you put in, of course. Now, it may not be as much as some of these random coins popping up, and it's like 50% in a single day or even in an hour. But still, remember, I always have been promoting, long-term investments over short-term gratification, because these long-term investments actually go further than just the money, especially with this company. So pretty much what they're trying to do in Guinea-Bissau is, a lot of people down there don't have access to fast internet. So what Cajutel wants to do is they want to bring in some towers and fix it all. They want to bring cost-effective broadband access to at least 75% of the population within the next couple of years. This is going to take years to implement fully. However, it's a perfect plan because you're able to kind of size it to whatever you want. So you can start with one area and one tower, or you can have a bunch of towers and going full out. All the infrastructure will be solar powered, so it's really cost effective. At first, the CEO was telling me how one of his buddies was saying, let's bring in a satellite and just give satellite access. But that, you have to worry about the competition coming into the future and just cutting down the margins. And what a lot of companies do, especially with emerging markets, they go into it and they charge really, really, really high. And then the people don't want to pay that because eventually they realize, we've been ripped off. It's not like they're okay with that. They understand what's happening, but they have no other choices. It's pretty much a monopoly. But if you bring in from the very beginning, if you go in for inbound marketing, you want to build relationships with these people, think about this for a second. You are going to provide something absolutely revolutionary that will change their entire life. They have never seen the internet before in its full capacity, with high definition YouTube videos and live streaming. There's no chance you can watch a live stream on the really, really low quality internet that they currently receive. There's so many new opportunities waiting to thrive down there, and these people will be ecstatic that, hey, somebody finally came in. It's not super overpriced internet. Okay, it works. Fantastic. So if it works, even if the competition does come pouring in, they won't care. They're going to be your customer for 10 years. They're going to be your customer for 20 years. And if the competition starts rolling in, okay, you either find ways to deal with it or you move to other areas. Andreas has worked in Iceland, in Mongolia. He has quite a bit of experience. You're able to go through that. And unlike a lot of ICOs out there, this already has some things in place. It's already been working on it for quite a while here, and they actually were trying to get VCs to invest in this, first of all. For those of you who don't know what that is, VCs are pretty much like sharks. They want to bring in a lot of money to the table, but they want to take out a lot of money in the end. They want to get rich, and all they care about is the bottom line, money at the end of the day. They don't care if you're going to change the world, whatever. If you make them a lot of bucks, great. That's it. That's all that matters. It's also extremely difficult to find VCs, and you need to go through a painstakingly long process to find just one, if not multiple. But if there's multiple, there's so many challenges that are presented that honestly, starting an ICO and getting everything onto the cryptocurrencies and having thousands of small investors, people from all across the globe, somebody who is a fan of internet, somebody who wants to help out the people in Africa, somebody who wants to make a little bit of money, you're able to invest anything from a couple dollars to thousands, tens of thousands, whatever you want. You have the freedom. So that's why instead of VCs, Cajutel decided, you know what, let's go the ICO route. And there are a lot of bad ICOs out there. There are a lot of companies that abuse this system. However, there's also a lot of good companies out there. So the average investor is probably watching this video. That's who you are. You might have some experience with cryptocurrencies, you might not, and you want to find out more information about cryptocurrencies. So as an investor, one of the first and foremost things you have to do is make sure you're investing with funds that are yours, because if you get it from the bank, if you get it from a credit card, listen, you can't afford to lose that money. So always do your research, and just because I say something doesn't mean it's fully correct, and you have to take that approach to everybody else out there. I'm biased. This is a sponsored video. Maybe some people don't like Africa. Maybe some people don't like this one coin and they're going against it because they own another coin. There's so many different biases out there and perspectives that you have to take all of it into account. Look at the bigger picture of what's going on. So don't take my word for it fully, but rather let me plant a seed of thought which expands into something further. You're motivated to look at other videos. You're motivated to start looking it up on Bitcoin Talk. You send a message to developers. You figure out more information about it. You start researching into the country of Guinea-Bissau. By the way, their GDP is less than $3 billion, which is kind of funny considering the market cap of all cryptocurrencies is approaching steadily $200 billion. And I know that may seem funny, and the population that's targeted here, it's only like 2 million people, and even if it's only a small percentage of that 2 million, like, these numbers aren't huge because the margins on this are quite nice. I mean, it's a low cost effective opportunity here to set up these cells. Each site it doesn't really cost much. A lot of planning went into this. So listen, if there's not enough money, there's just going to be less cell sites until more capital comes in for more sites, and then you're able to expand. If you're worried about the government of Guinea-Bissau or the regulations or whatever, these governments want other companies to come in and kind of fix everything going on because they don't have that much money. I mean, the GDP is $3 billion. Well, it's like 2.6 billion or something like that. So if you have overseas companies coming in and offering internet and TV and radio and all of this, they're excited about it. They're not going to be like, oh, wait, well, actually, here's this and blah, blah, blah. But in terms of fees and licensing, of course, Cajutel is looking into that. And the CTO, David Vine, has actually been living in West African countries for the last 20 years of his life. He actually has a Guinea-Bissau passport. And he's also been able to set up TV and radio towers and broadcast stations. So he has plenty of experience. The CEO has plenty of experience. These guys know what they're doing. I don't want to make this video too long. So if you guys enjoy this video, please let me know in the comments below. I'm going to transition into the next segment, which is, I actually recorded a bunch of these film clips, but I'm just going to try and splice it up, get some good moments in. And sorry, I literally was recording from my phone, but hey, if you want to stay tuned for it, fantastic. If you want to see more or hear more information, or you have a big, huge question, write it down below. And if this video gets a good response, we'll do more videos and possibly a live stream with the CEO for you guys as well. I really do believe in this project. I think it's awesome. And if it does well in Guinea-Bissau, it could expand to Guinea, which is 10 times the population, which, hey, in the end, for those of you who only care about money, yeah, it is a pretty nice opportunity because long term, it could do very, very well because these are emerging markets. So if you're one of the first players in an emerging market, Boom, you got a lot of money. But it's not about the money sometimes. It's more about actually changing the world and having an impact. And I know you're probably like, Mike, what is wrong with you? But seriously, one of the main reasons I want to be rich is in the future, I want to use the money for good. But there is a certain point where if you have enough money that you're dealing with, I mean, you look at a lot of the philanthropists out there, they just want to help change the world. And of course, there's always some selfish reasons behind it and the ego, but there's a lot of issues that we can currently change and fix. So if you guys are interested in this project, definitely check out the links down in the description below. We're going to transition now and hopefully enjoy this video. My name is Michael Kubera, and feel free to listen in.
They changed the laws to optimize this, so it makes it easier for people to come. And they just realize they can never get out of this by themselves. They need help from others, and they are very open to people coming there and help them growing. On the other side, you have to understand the Africans, how they think. And, my experience with Africans from that region is if you provide a good service and you give them a fair price, they're going to buy from you forever. Unfortunately, there were a lot of people who went there and offered them services and tried to take quite a bit of advantage. So they had like margins of 60% and things like that. And of course, once they figure that out, they feel cheated and then they walk away. But if you go there and you play fair with the people, they're gonna honor this and they're gonna talk about it. That's the interesting thing, You don't have to have a big advertisement budget there because there is no really way of advertising. There's one TV station and there's maybe a newspaper, and if you go to the countryside, they don't read the newspaper. So the way of advertising thing is by having happy customers, and by having happy customers is you have a good price to performance relation, and as long as you keep this up and treat everybody well, they're going to sell for you like mad. And I mean, I have seen this in Switzerland in 1994 when I built an ISP from scratch. I started with like 4 modems in the bedroom, and at the end we had like 14 points of presence, 15 employees, and we were thinking about buying a voice switch for 2 million. So this is the kind of scaling we went through. And of course, at that time, we made all kinds of errors, because we didn't know, and probably nobody knew at that time. But here it's different. We go into a market which we understand. David, my partner in this project, he's living there since 20 years. He's a British fellow, and he has built TV broadcast stations in Bissau before. So he knows how to deal with the government, he knows how to get building permits, he knows how to get the construction workers, he knows how to handle them, that they really do what you want and not just anything. And so he has that well under control. And I've been dealing with West Africa since 2003, so I've been there a couple of times, and I know how those people think. And, if an American comes there and wants to build the same thing and has never been there, then people would start building resistance, and they would find all kinds of things to delay things and make your life more miserable.
So later on, there might be a problem with competition, but currently in its state, at least for the next couple of years, it seems like everything's. You have the government, you have people on your team who have experience working in the area, you have a lot of experience yourself.
The thing with the competition is like this: when we start building this out, then we're building an infrastructure which hasn't been there. And if a competitor comes, he has to do the same thing, because there's nothing there he can build upon, which means he has the same costs as we do. But if he comes 2 years later than we are, then we are already in a position that we can drop prices and still be profitable, while he has still the big expense of building it up. So if he would have to compete with us, he would have to drop the prices as well, and then it's going to be much more cash he needs to build it up. I mean, that's one of the situations. The second point is, if you look at our business calculation, we calculate that we get 14% of the population as customers in 6 years. historically, GSM started in like 2003 or 4, and there was 0 GSM customers in 2003. And 10 years later, basically everybody had a GSM. So it took like 10 years from nothing to everybody. And my prediction is that with the internet, we're going to see the same. Because the pickup rate of such technologies in Africa is much, much faster because they're so far behind that skip all the intermediate steps. You know, they say, oh, we're not going to lay copper to the homes to put a traditional phone, we just go wireless directly. And the operators which are there, they operate 2G networks. They don't even support edge.
Right.
You know, they have speeds of 100 kilobits, and we just go 4G. And if I say 4G, I mean real 4G with the high speed. And so we just skip the intermediate steps and go full-blown, and that's, of course, speeding the whole adoption rate up. And, of course, also, if you are 10 years later down the road, start to do the same thing, then the internet has also developed, and you're actually going to need those speeds and so on. Because, like, nobody would be able to watch your YouTube video down there. They would not even be able to listen to it, just because it's too slow. My approach was to say, okay, we have a project which is, you know, well thought through, which we have presented to investors, which we have analyzed through analysts. We had, you know, thought it through like thousands of times. And it's a good project. I mean, 100% believe in it, otherwise I wouldn't do this. And the problem is really to find the right people who are willing to bet their money on this. And if we're talking to virtual venture capital people, you know, they are gambling with millions of dollars. So they're going to turn every stone and they're going to look at every little detail, and they only have limited time. So you have to find the ones who just even read the business plan. That's the biggest hurdle. You know, you can come with this project to venture capitalists, and they would not even read the business plan because they have 100 others. And the 100 others, you know, 99 of them are in the United States, and then there's one in Africa, you know, and they don't have time for this, to think even about this and do due diligence on that, because they have to decide in large amounts. So my view is okay, maybe it's better if we just open up to everybody, to the small investor who only puts $100 in it or $1,000, and that's actually what we see now, and you know, give them a chance to participate, because also for them it's easier to decide. You know, either they believe my story or they don't. They might want to read the full business plan and everything, and they're welcome to do so. Some might not do it and just say, yeah, I think he's right and that sounds good, I'm going to throw $200 on it. And those kinds of investors are ideal for us. On one way, you have to get a lot of them to make the project work. On the other hand, they are not that demanding like a venture capitalist, because the venture capitalist, he wants to have a big return at the end. He wants a big cash out for himself. He would, you know, he's the kind of a guy who would sell his grandmother, as we say. So those are really sharks. And I prefer to work with normal people who say, yeah, I'm ready to risk this money and you know, help us to build this. And then they should also get the return, a fair share of the deal. So it's fair for everybody. And that's why my point was the cryptocurrency environment sounds better because we can easier, quicker get the right kind of people. And of course there are people out there, I mean, I've seen some YouTube comments who just say like, oh, but Africa, you know, those people only have an IQ of 67 and, you know, and then he argues a lot about why and so on, and at the end of the day it's a racist just trying to discredit Africa in general. But what I'm trying to say is there are lots of people who just say, yeah, that's a good idea, and you know, just give us $200. And now the problem is really to reach all those guys, and that's why we're here, because we need to reach more such investors, because the VC channel is somehow way too difficult for us, because then you're going to get 2 or 3 VCs and then you're done. But to get them, is so hard and so difficult that we have given up on that channel.
Right. I mean, I've looked a little bit into the route that you have to take, especially with the larger companies out there, that you have different series of funding, and in order to just go through that, it is really a numbers game, but you also have to play with time, which is one of the most valuable things here, where, you know, you're able to throw up a couple of YouTube videos and immediately you're able to reach thousands of investors. And from there, you know, they're able to share it with their moms, their friends, their other investor friends. And I think Africa and Southeast Asia, and even, you know, just moving over here to Poland over with cryptocurrencies and nootropics and everything else that I'm dealing with, there's always an opportunity. There's always these new emerging markets. And some people don't see that, and that's fine. The ones who do, though, and the ones who stick through it, and they're able to invest their time, money, effort into it, they're able to get quite a payout at the end. And of course, you know, they're changing the environment. They're helping the local people progress with their technology and just bring over stuff that in other parts of the world, I mean, we're used to it. Of course, I mean, we've had it for, you know, for my entire life, because I'm only 19 years old, so it's like I can't imagine a life without it. But over down there, it's it's definitely got quite long legs with this idea. I'm kind of impressed, but the average person, like you said, there will be some people who are like, oh, it's Africa, it's sketchy, I can't do that. That's fine, that's their choice. But what about the so maybe people trust the ICO, but they still don't trust the full operation down there. They trust companies that have good ideas, but there's just something to it that, what, for example, like, what if the government, now I know you answered this, that you've been, your CTO, I believe it was, right? David Vine. He's been living down there for the past 20 years, and he's also built TV and radio stations, and he's been through some problems already, and he's been able to solve that. But what other things could kind of ease the average investor out there with just investing in Africa, investing in Guinea?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. Actually, there's a section in the white paper which talks about which has a SWOT analysis. I don't remember what the exact words is for SWOT, but it's like all the risks and all the pros and cons are listed and weighted against each other. And of course, Africa in some cases is difficult to deal with. And I have seen cases in Senegal where the competition is done in a very unfair way, and there was a mobile operator going into the market as a secondary, and the first which was there is like Sonatel, and they're the only one who have the international fiber. So of course they charge a fortune for the international fiber, and then it suddenly goes down. It's just by coincidence. Of course, they claim it's a technical error, but in reality, they just want to piss off the customers of the competitor. That's the kind of things you're going to see there. And if you would do this in Europe, then you would end up under-regulated the next morning, and operators would have to pay fine for unfair competition and things like that. In Africa, it's then the question of who pays the judge more money. That's the kind of risks you have. So that's why in my business plan, what we did is we said, okay, we don't want to be dependent on anyone, So we build our own infrastructure. We even build our own power, because we cannot rely on the power grid to work. It might fail for half an hour or so, and you still want to be able to operate. So when you have this commitment to quality, and I think that's another differentiator where you can gain a lot of customers, if you say we want to have the same quality standards as we have in Europe, that like the network must always work no matter what. If you're committed to that, then you cannot rely on the electricity which is down there, just because it's not reliable enough. I mean, they're improving it and so on. But you want to be independent, so you're not falling over with them. If it's intentional or not, it's not even the point. The second thing is, we don't want to lease capacity from a competitor, because he might not like us, and one day he might disconnect us because he doesn't like us. And even though the competitor doesn't even have capacity, we have to do it anyway ourselves. So that's why we go a long way and just bring the capacity into the country ourselves as a first, which means the competitor might even buy from us. I mean, that's a business case which we haven't even explored, if that would make sense to also sell capacity to the others. So if you think this along the line, I mean, if we build the whole thing, in 5 years or so, we're a very highly profitable company. And if you look at the business plan, once we have built everything up, then operating the whole thing is very, very cheap. Because what do you need? You need power? Well, we generate our power from the sun, so there's zero cost. We need internet capacity. Well, you cannot avoid this, but you're getting it right off the international cables, and everybody at the end gets it off those cables anyway. So there's a competition there, and everybody has the same price, or should have at least. And you're getting it from outside the country, where there's not a competitor games from the guy who sells it. And then you need staff to, answer calls and help people, and you need, some maintenance if something fails. So the operational cost is very, very low compared to when you would build something in Europe. You would actually not go the long way and build your own fiber. You would just rent a fiber from one of the fiber providers. And there's 20 fiber providers to choose from, so that's why the price is low. There, you cannot do this, so you actually have to do it yourself. So what I'm trying to say, at the end of the day, let's say we build the whole infrastructure up and we have 0 customers in 5 years. Then you can just sell the whole infrastructure to the competitor and say, hey, you want to have a high capacity connectivity? We have everything here. And they would love to take this because they're going to need capacity as well. So the big difference here is we get money in from investors. We actually build infrastructure. So the money is not gone. It's just converted into infrastructure. And even if the whole plan falls apart, there's still something which you can sell at the end and get some return. So you never lose everything, which is, in comparison to a lot of ICOs, which are just software ideas, where they say, okay, we get money in to build this software, and then you try this software and you build it, and you try to build an ecosystem, and if the ecosystem doesn't work, then you basically close and you have nothing, because all the money you have spent into developing something, which then becomes valueless, because for whatever reason, the business case hasn't worked, so the money is gone. And in our case, of course, we build something up, and if we have to close for some reason, then a lot of money is gone, but there's still all the assets out there. The towers are there, the fiber is there, and that's something which is not, it still has a value because the competitor could buy it up and use it. So that's one of the things where I think we are different to most ICOs, that we actually have assets at the end, which are worth a lot of money. I mean, in year 6, I think we have assets in the range of $150 million, and we have $68 million of EBITDA. And, if you take the multiplication value of what companies are traded with on the stock exchanges based on their EBITDA, then you have something like between 8 times to 15, to up to 20 times the value of their EBITDA. And so that means one share of the company could be worth up to $1,000. And it's a pretty good return if you look at those figures. Of course, it could be $200 or $300, but for the initial investment between $15 and $60, it's still a good return. I mean, it's not an astronomical return like when you would have bought a Bitcoin in like 2010 and now selling it, but you also don't have the risks which are that high.
Of course.
I think this is the big difference.
Right.
Every year, you might not get it in the first 3 years, but in like year 4, 5, 6, if we follow the plan, then we for sure should be in a position to pay quite a bit of dividend. So you might actually get the return of your initial investment 3 years later by getting more than the money back than you originally invested, and you still have the share. You get that every year.
So what about the...
So it's not just a speculation, it's also a return of investment.
So it's definitely good for long-term investment. What would you say about the short-term investors, people who are looking at the next couple of months?
That's difficult to say because it depends on how big the demand is. Let's say we pull a totally crazy stunt off and everything sells out in a week ahead of closing. If we get people that excited, and of course a lot of other people would like to get into, because they think that, oh, there's a big demand, and then of course the first buyers who get it for the cheapest price, they would sell it at the highest price. Whoever pays, who wants to get in. I actually don't care about that. What I care is that I can build the network and bring returns on the long run, and that's why I'm here. And of course, you cannot avoid that people are speculating on it, but the real value is only going to show up in like 2 to 3 years, where when the first people see that there's a dividend and there's a real, we follow the plan, and you see that this is really a good company. And the same thing would happen in the stock market game.
And that is that, my friends. I think you've seen enough. If you are interested or have any questions, definitely comment down below or go to the websites. The main two you should be looking at, the one that ends in .io and .gw. If you want to help out Guinea-Bissau, or you're interested in internet or changing the world, or you just want to make some money, you're an investor and you have a little bit to play around, or maybe this is something that you're like, oh, super passionate about. Whatever walk of life you come from, if this project is something that interests you, check out the link below and feel free to purchase. Now, before you purchase, please understand how to properly do this. As with any Ethereum token, they do have on the website, like you can click through the links and there's instructions on what to do. Do not lose your Ethereum by sending it to the wrong wallet or not receiving your tokens because you're sending it from Coinbase. So just watch out for that, okay? My name is Mike, we're Kubera. Please stay safe, let's make some money, and we shall see you guys tomorrow. Bye.